Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT, that is where we are looking this week. Just throwing topics out from any of the shows. The one I'm going to touch on first is Bobby Lashley. We were talking about this fatal four-way match possibility, and we end up getting it now with Bobby Lashley, I guess, earning his way into that fatal four-way.
Yeah, pretty much more or less. It does the job. It gets another body in there that can take the loss, so that they don't want to pull the title off of Big E. There's somebody there that makes sense because he was the one that he beat, and they can further the storylines with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins if they want with Big E. It also gives an option for, if they don't want Big E to lose directly, for somebody to be pinned to put the title on a newly signed wrestler.
Yeah, there's a few possibilities in that match. Like, it is four very big names, three big meaty men slapping meat, and Seth Rollins off to the side cackling. And honestly, like, if you told me coming out of this that any of the four outcomes happened, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, Bobby Lashley's already held the title quite a bit recently. Big E, obviously the champion going in. Seth Rollins as champion is always a possibility. And as you mentioned, recently re-signed Kevin Owens, also a possibility for who's going to walk out with that championship gold around their waist.
It is what it is, but I think that match is going to be much more interesting going forward with the inclusion of Lashley. Because it does create so many different options that they can go with for the finish.
Yeah, it's just a whole extra, like, card you can play with, right? Like, so much more you can do. Triple threats, fatal four-ways are always pretty clustery. You don't necessarily always know what's happening. Things are happening over here, things are happening over there. But fatal four-way is just an extra way to throw a body in. I don't think we're going any more than this. I don't think we're going fatal five-way or championship scramble or anything like that. I think this is probably the max that is heading into this match for WWE Day 1.
Yeah, this is what I've expected. And it is the dark match, like, feud for the next couple months. So it's not that big of a surprise, including that dark match that seemed to reveal that Kevin Owens resigned.
Yeah, I gave you a bit of a chance there when I was mentioning, a re-signed Kevin Owens for you to gloat and do your thing before we move on, if you'd like to.
No, I can't even take credit for it because I saw an article somewhere about it, so I can't even take credit for it.
Fair. Is there anything from any of the three shows that you'd like to touch on before we go to my next topic? Opening up the floor. We don't do this style often. A lot of the times we've got shows to preview or review.
Let's see here. I would say probably, how about the fact that the Raw Tag Team Champions go to SmackDown and lose? And it's not even the SmackDown Tag Team Champions that beat them. It's the third tag team that's been feuding with the SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
Yeah. Obviously, RK Bro jumping over to the Blue Brand for a bit of a showcase, and taking on both the Usos and the New Day in a triple threat tag team match, and King Woods and Kofi Kingston coming out on top.
Continued push for King Woods. It's definitely, we're heading towards it's going to be a good New Day versus the Usos match at Day 1. That's inevitable. The question is then, are the New Day the team that can conquer Jimmy and Jay, who have been absolutely dominant in the tag team division for SmackDown for the better part of all year? I think they won the titles in like August or April or something like that.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, as you say, obviously the Usos losing would be the, I guess, start of the bloodline losing championships, possibly, and maybe not something they want to push into, but we can see the Usos New Day like 50 million times, and they're always going to pull out something new. They're always going to put on a great, entertaining match and something that people want to see. I struggle to think of something these guys have done where it's been, not a fantastic time.
Yeah, and the New Day is the one team that can beat the Usos, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because the New Day and the Usos have been like 1A, 1B for the last 6 in tag team division. If it wasn't the Usos on top, it was the New Day. If it wasn't the New Day, it was the Usos. And they have that ongoing rivalry, respect, even the respect back to the Gauntlet tag team match that got Kofi his title match when the Usos forfeited for the New Day. So it's these two teams know each other very well. They put on great matches. It would make sense if they decided they want to strap the New Day again. If they don't, that also makes sense. So just strap in and get ready for a good ride.
Yeah, it truly feels every time we see these New Day versus Usos matches that it is them fighting over, who is the best tag team of the super modern era. As you say, they have been 1A and 1B. They are the top of the tag team divisions, no matter what brands they're on, no matter what configuration of the New Day you see going up against people. These two teams have proven that they are the two best tag teams in the WWE, hands down. As entertaining as RK Bro is, and as fun as some of these other tag teams, the
difference is the longevity.
Yeah, these two have been around forever.
Yeah, the fact that it's been the Usos have been in WWE for like 12 years now, because I think they debuted in like 2010.
Let me type as slowly as possible.
Yeah, and then the New Day formed around 2013. So I think it's been about 6 or 7 years for them now.
Yeah. The Usos made their main roster debut in May 2010, and then July 2014 for the original sort of pairing up that they did for the New Day.
So it's been 7 years on one side, 12 years on the other. That's why they're considered the greatest tag teams of this era, is because they didn't break up. They didn't backstab each other. They've had, I think the New Day's had 11 total reigns, and the Usos have had 7 or 8. So it's basically been them trading titles.
Yeah, 7 reigns for the Usos, 5 SmackDown and 2 just WWE Tag Team. Never the Raw Tag Team Championship, interestingly enough. This list is a nightmare for the New Day. 4 Raw, 7 SmackDown.
So 11.
It lists all the combinations separately. I had to try and math it all.
Yeah.
These are your best tag teams around in the WWE. It's going to be a hell of a time seeing the two of them have fun out there. We got a little bit of time, but we've played the song really late in the last few episodes, so I'm going to play the song a little bit earlier this time. But there's a bit of an intro, I guess, to the song. Spoilers, the song we will be playing is Jonathan Gresham's theme. And that is because, effectively, no matter how you want to phrase it, Ring of Honor is no more in the form that it has been in. The company with a solid roster and with everything that they're doing is going to take a hiatus. Most of their superstars are going to sign other places, whether that be AEW, whether that just be roam in the independent scene, and they're going to turn into more of a, I guess, King of the Indies position, where they're fairly notable, but they don't have contracted wrestlers necessarily. They had their final show, and Jonathan Gresham held the title high at the end of it all. I don't know how much you know about the show, Josh.
I didn't watch Final Battle, but I picked it just because Ring of Honor has had such a huge impact in the last 20 years in professional wrestling. unless they came from NXT, almost every top star in either AEW or WWE came at some point in their career worked in Ring of Honor. Just about. Unless your name is Sting. Sting is an exception to all rules. But yeah, pretty much almost anybody who worked in either AEW or WWE that's made it to the top echelon spent time in Ring of Honor. Now, Roman Reigns is an obvious exception because he basically came out of FCW, which became NXT. But for the most part, you had AJ Styles, you had Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Samoa Joe. The list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I've pulled up like an alphabetical list, and like I'm in B, and this section is already, chock-a-block, just like adding on top in the early letters here, right? Adam Cole, eventually Ember Moon, down the line Bobby Fish, Brody King doing quite well at the moment. It's a massive list of people, whether they made their name here or whether they came through here afterwards. It was a breeding ground of talent. It felt like every time somebody was signed to NXT, whether it be, your Kevin Owens, your Sami Zayns, even to a point your Daniel Bryans, your Cesaros, it was always like top Ring of Honor star signed by WWE. That was always the headline.
Yeah. So that is a sad thing. It's just that is one of the top companies in the US that is not going to be there as an option anymore. And that's why I wanted to play their last official champion, Sting, this week. To say thank you for the memories.
That's a good intro then, as we go into playing that theme for you right about now. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. Where were we on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? We had a few things, I guess, but one thing that I'd like to talk about on SmackDown, Xia Li coming in, getting immediately a push into what is the second largest women's feud, or the largest one not for a title right now, as she sort of inserts herself in this Naomi versus Sonia Deville storyline.
Yeah, one could argue that this is actually this feud between Deville and Naomi has actually been bigger than either title at this point.
There's not a lot of story behind the title feuds at the moment, so
yeah. It was an interesting decision. It fits with the character that they're trying to portray right now, the Protector. I'm interested in seeing where they go with it, and I totally want to see Xia Li versus Shayna Baszler, because I think that'll be an insane match. But yeah, it was probably time to even the odds for Naomi. I still believe Deville is winning the Rumble. But this is just such an interesting element to the story now.
Yeah, because you say even the odds, right? Like, it's still arguably, like Sonya Deville can wrestle, so I'm going to still call it like a 3v2 feud here, right? With Naomi and Xia Li on one side going up against Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and for some reason Natalya. It still needs a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd say even the odds because Deville is a trained wrestler, but she hasn't wrestled since SummerSlam of 2020.
Yeah, she was meant to wrestle this week.
Yeah, so I think that's her character really isn't a wrestler at this point. It isn't official, but I am still excited to see more of this. But yeah, Xia Li's she is somebody who can neutralize Shayna Baszler, and that's the biggest reason I said to even the odds.
Mm-hmm.
Is because Baszler is just such a force of nature that that as long as she was unchecked, this feud was one lopsided as can be.
Mm-hmm.
But Xia Li somewhat does check this version of Shayna Baszler. Now, if this was Shayna Baszler from NXT 3 years ago, that Xia Li still doesn't check her. But this is a much weaker Shayna Baszler than we saw in NXT.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see moving forward, because Xia Li has also had a bit of a power upgrade since NXT. Seems to be able to come out here and kick a lot of heads in, so excited to see what her future holds. I was a little spooked when she came up from NXT onto the main roster, but seems to be getting prominent, as we say, and arguably the most story-driven feud for the woman right now.
Yeah.
Only second, I'd put maybe Liv Morgan and her build, but other than that, pretty strong.
Yeah, and I would also say that there's still a possibility that they may go a different route with her character as being a mercenary,
mm-hmm.
and eventually she gets paid off by Sonia Deville.
Yeah.
So it's not set in stone what her character is going to be. But all the promos and stuff had a lot to do with being a protector. So we'll have to see. But it's a good start to get at the beginning here so far.
And I guess if we're talking about one of the officials for WWE at the moment with Sonia Deville, we've got to talk about the other official, Adam Pearce. He is not having a good time. He's got Brock Lesnar in his office, holding him up by his collar, threatening to hang his head on his wall, and we got Drew McIntyre stabbing swords through his desk. Adam Pearce has a rough job, man.
Yeah. Well, at least at this point he hasn't burst any more pants, so that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I would be scared to death of Brock. That's the obvious thing.
Just Brock's presence.
Yeah, you see Brock, you bend over and kiss your butt goodbye because you're going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd also be very afraid of a Scottish man that has a large sword, because odds are your head's going to roll, because he might have a flashback to thinking that you're an English king. But yeah,
history jokes up on this episode.
Yeah, I like that they put Adam Pearce as he is an authority character, but he's basically an authority character that can't be a full authority character because he gets run over by all the stars all the time. So yeah, and basically the sword stabbing led us to yet another amazing match between our boy Sheamus and our boy Drew McIntyre. Yeah.
I never complain when we get Sheamus and Drew.
I still think they should have fought for the WWE Championship when Drew was champion.
I think it would have worked well. I think those two, you watch the documentaries and everything, they go so far back. They have amazing chemistry. I think Drew probably has come out on top in most of their clashes, but Sheamus is a former WWE champion. He's no slouch.
Yeah, just imagine that video package if it had been done at WrestleMania. Because they could have pulled all that footage from those documentaries.
Yeah. They
could have shown when Sheamus broke in and became WWE champion. And they could have shown where Drew McIntyre was considered the chosen one. And the stuff that he went through. And the fallout. Him getting fired, coming back, eventually becoming WWE champion. It could have been just such an insane promo video. So that is a kind of sad thing that they didn't go with that match, but I understood why they didn't. And it was fine.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we won't ever get it either. There is a chance down the line that we still get it. I think these guys both have years on them, They're not going to be disappearing anytime soon. But yeah, I'm looking back here. It looks like it's about 2005. Sheamus O'Shaughnessy, Drew Galloway, tearing the house down in Britain all the way up till now. So that's a long time. That's 16 years these two have had of chemistry. you can see why whatever match they put on is going to be a banger. We've given a lot of attention to Raw, to SmackDown, even a little bit to Raw. You want to gloat a little bit that your boy Cameron Grimes beat my boy once again?
Yeah, okay, I don't know what to say for you then. Because I thought this was the match that he would get his win back, and that would be where he would take off. But Cameron's got a Cameron. He's got a troll.
I can't tell if this is still going. Like, it feels like this isn't it. There's going to be yet another match, but Cameron Grimes wins 2 of 2. What's really the point here for Duke? Does he just, I guess, suck up his loss and go home empty-handed? It's going to be hard to tell. While I'm skipping through here, one specific thing I want to mention about NXT 2.0 is just somebody I've got my eye on, Ivy Nile, who is the female that is in Diamond Mine. I really like her look. I really like her in-ring style. I've seen like still photos of a couple past episodes that have been framed up like Taekwondo maneuvers and stuff like that. I just really like everything she's doing, and with Bivens as a mouthpiece for her, I see her as someone who can do great things down the line. So I'm going to keep my eye on Ivy Nile, just as a side piece to mention.
That's fine. I have my eye on, obviously, the Jade Cora, because she's obviously getting the biggest shine right now in the women's division. Another person I have my eye on, Grayson Waller.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of focus. He was the entire point of the episode this week.
Yeah, and he is playing his role perfectly. He is the heel people want to hate. And that is hard to do in this day of age. So I want to see where he goes from here. But he's definitely a bigger star going forward. And he is definitely a heel. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's the heel in 2.0.
Yeah.
And could even be the guy that ends up taking the title from Ciampa. So that we have somebody for Ron the Chase as a face.
We'll have to see. Obviously, he got like a lot of focus in War Games. And then, he comes along. He attacks Johnny Gargano last week, which again is quite a high position on the card, attacking some dude on his final day. And then, the whole episode this week was framed around him, whether it's him cutting a promo at the start, whether it's him being booted out, whether it's him attacking somebody in the parking lot. He had like 3 or 4 segments throughout the episode of just him showing up and doing stuff. And that really is, I guess, the showing off of, this is our guy. At least for this episode, this is who it was built around.
Yeah, it was definitely built around him as far as the non-storyline related stuff. But besides that, I want to point out the freaking storyline with the Shaman.
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes to quickly throw in some MSK and Riddle stuff if you want to mention that.
Just out of all those vignettes, that makes sense. If you're going to have something crazy, you might as well have Matt Riddle involved. So and that you don't have to do anything really, have him actually there, because it is videotaped.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, dude, you gotta get over all this stuff. You gotta put all this stuff out of your mind. You have even stuff that doesn't exist in your time frame, like the Spinner U.S. Championship. That's weighing you down for no apparent reason.
Look, we don't question Matt Riddle.
No, because it'll hurt your brain if you try it. Which makes Randy Orton a saint for having to deal with him.
The Riddle stuff really works with MSK. I don't think I can say what MSK stands for on the radio, but like their characters do perfectly mesh pretty well, especially if you like followed their stuff as the Rascals before they came in. Riddle as a shaman isn't a bad idea. it's, I think, the first time in a while that we've had a character sort of appear on multiple for like a continued thing, not just like a one-off appearance. You know, the Riddle as the Shaman has been on a couple weeks now. I see him sticking around for a couple weeks more while still being an active competitor over on Raw and SmackDown. So we'll have to see, as you say, whether he makes a sort of physical appearance at any of their matches, or if the Tag Team Championships are going to be in MSK's future again, or if they're just going to stay out of that picture for now, dealing with their Shaman.
Yeah. So yeah, it should be fun to see where we go from here.
And then my final word before we sign off: Cora Jade defeated Dakota Kai. That's all. It's been great talking to you. We're all out of time.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRND up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRND up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRND up, and we'll see you next week. No talking about how my girl lost.